Tourists? Olivia, so we'll get to review.
34.
We're just gonna give it to them. Let them do it.
Motion, yeah.
I don't remember what motion, what, this, the related ordinance. Right, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
7:16, we're back in regular session. Item number 34, discussion and action to direct staff to research or to adopt an ordinance that grants the city of Socorro the waiving of all or some permit fees to all registered nonprofit organizations operating within our city limits.
Council, and at this time, can we, I make the motion to review, to have our staff review the related ordinances or related, fourth, yes. What number is it again, I'm sorry? 459. Excellent. Please, and anybody wants to second?
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent, Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Iván Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 20, discussion and action to approve 2021 El Paso Marathon Route.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve for discussion. Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We did attend a meeting last week with El Paso County and other members of the smaller municipalities. A very exciting news that they want to share with us is they are thinking of changing the El Paso Marathon's race route for next year, for 2021, to be the El Paso Mission Trail route. So here with us is one of the directors for the El Paso Marathon to elaborate more on it and give us a little bit more information.
Mayor, City Council, appreciate you giving us the opportunity to address you this evening. I'm Mike Coulter. I'm the race director for the El Paso Marathon. I've served in that capacity for about 10 years. We are currently heading into our 13th year, the El Paso Marathon is. Currently, this route starts in downtown El Paso and travels out to the east side of town, Eastwood High School area, and then travels back down and finishes at Southwest University Ballpark. What we're proposing is to start in San Eli and then run past all three missions before we return downtown. You have a handout in front of you, so it gives you a little bit of history about the marathon. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization that was founded in 2007. Our goal is to put on a world-class, first-class marathon event that not only benefits nonprofits, local nonprofits, but also to draw tourists to the region. And so that's the reason that we're considering this, or proposing this new route, where we would, again, pass by all of the missions and end up downtown. Every year we attract visitors from all over the country and actually people from all over the world. Last year we had people from Germany, France, Canada, and of course all over the United States. So that'll give you kind of a thumbnail description of what we've got in mind, and we certainly hope that the city of Socorro will consider letting us pass through this beautiful town and past the mission on our way back to downtown El Paso. Any questions, or is there anything else I can elaborate on?
Mr. Arte?
Oh, yeah.
Mayor, I think from staff from the police department and the city planner, we have a couple of logistic questions that haven't really been answered just because we're trying to use Socorro Road.
correct.
There was a lot of questions that we had that weren't
Yeah.
answered.
Before we, you know, as we proceed, we can be more specific with timing. Traditionally, we start at 7 a.m. in the morning. And we're looking at, this year we're gonna do about 400 runners for the marathon itself. 400 runners, start at 7 o'clock, in San Eli, and we can give you more specifically the time that those people will be passing through the community. Currently, what we do in El Paso, we do rolling closures, so that as people completely pass through an area, that area becomes open. And I could, you know, again, be more specific with timing at a later date. So that's what we want to consider. That's what we're looking at, is using Socorro Road all the way down to its level.
Mr. Perez?
Question,
Sure.
in terms of the runners running, they will occupy the right lane, or will they?
The right lane,
So it's the entire right lane.
correct.
Okay.
Would be the safest way. We came out here about 6 weeks ago, and well, actually San Eli. We started in San Eli. We rode our bikes downtown, and unfortunately, the width of Socorro Road would kind of prevent you from complete shoulder, but that's what we propose, is a shutdown or a partial shutdown of the right-hand lane, the westbound lane. Sir.
Mr. Duran?
From the first runner to the last runner, what is the time frame between them? Because I know that not everybody runs at top speed.
As quickly as.
Yeah,
as-
so
yeah.
from the time that you
Yeah.
start the
We have-
race,
Well, from start to finish, we have a 6-hour time limit. Last year, our last runner came in
so
15 minutes over that. So
our
you-
roads are going to be blocked for 6 hours?
No.
No.
That's what I tried to explain. They'd be, your fastest runner is running 6 minutes, 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and your slowest runner is probably in the 15-minute range. Gives you an idea.
Per mile.
Yeah.
Because
I
I'm just trying to
probably
figure
run
out
20.
how long our roads are going to be shut down.
Yeah, again, I would have to do some study on that to give you a better idea.
Only,
Mr. Perez?
my concern is that, depending on the hour, we have different services, and if we're talking about the Mission Trail, we have different services going on at the Socorro Mission at 7:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock, and then 12 o'clock.
Mhm.
So, it depends at what time, and then you have the traffic. The traffic there is, that curve there is very tenuous, and so I'm thinking that we really need to have I like to have a firmer time
Time flow?
estimate.
Mhm.
As firm as estimates can be, obviously,
Yes, sir.
because there is some, as it is, traffic is bad, and it needs to be looked at.
Also, there's also 2 other churches on Socorro Road that would be impacted a lot, because basically you're shutting down their services for that
Three?
time.
Is it 3?
There's
3?
San Felipe?
San Felipe?
Socorro?
No, on Socorro
On
Road,
Socorro Road.
there's 3
You-
more?
You don't count San Elizario.
No,
But
in
you
Socorro.
count the 3, because it's the big one, the small one, and then you have the Mission.
Yeah, that's for the mission. I'm thinking there's the 2 other ones in
Yeah.
addition to the mission.
Chief would also like to share a few words.
Real quick question, Chief. What would be your fee for entry?
They-
What are you
We
looking
have,
at?
we have four different tiers.
Right.
The least expensive to the most expensive. We started about $75 for the marathon,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes all the way up to about 115.
Okay. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Burton, Chief of Police. So, I was away last week, unfortunately, when this got brought to the police department. I have some additional logistical questions because there are 27 intersections proposed on the current route, along with the 3 churches. As you mentioned, I have some concerns over the narrowness of the road. What I would like to do is propose that you table this to allow me to work with the race committee to see how we can tackle those logistics. I may suggest that some of the route be shifted off of Socorro to one of the wider roads where we can actually take an entire lane as opposed to one of the two ways. We could take a four-way, or a two-lane on one side is it's a lot easier than taking one lane on a two-lane road. So that's my suggestion.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Perez?
it might be better for us and to delete the item, because depending on when you all get together, if we postpone, then it would have to come back for the next meeting, and so I'm not sure if your schedules will jive. And so I think that at this point, at this time, I'd like to go ahead and rescind my motion and move for the item to be deleted.
And I think they're under time sensitive, correct? You're planning on announcing this.
Well, ideally what we'd like to do, because this is an event that people plan for
Right.
12 months in advance. So ideally, the sooner that we can iron these things out and make that announcement. What we had wanted to do was announce it on February 15 at our Health and Fitness Expo down in El Paso. If not, we'd certainly like to invite the city of Socorro to be present at our Health and Fitness Expo, just to make people aware of what's going down here in the valley. So many people even that just live in El Paso have never been to the missions. And again, given the people that we get from all over the country, all over the state, we'd like for those people to be aware of what is going on down here. So if we can't it doesn't sound like we're gonna get to a point where we can get an approved route or get a stamp of approval. We'd certainly like to invite you all to be with us on the 15th for the convention.
Okay.
Yes, and just to be clear, we're very supportive of, I think it's a great
Right.
thing for Socorro. It's just the logistics that worries us a little bit, and if using maybe Alameda,
I'll second.
that's an option, but those are because there's more lanes that we can work with.
I'll second Mr. Perez's motion, just because if not, this is gonna come up next. And if you guys can't meet by then to hash out, what we can accommodate you guys with, then it's gonna come back and we're gonna have to just
No.
delete it. So it'd be best that we're gonna delete this item. Doesn't mean that we're not
Supportive of it.
supporting it or
Absolutely.
or not supporting it. What we're saying is, you're gonna still continue having talks, and when we're ready they're gonna bring it back to us. Okay?
Certainly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent, Ralph Duran.
Yes.
Victor Perez.
Aye.
And Ivan Colombia Lopez.
Yes.
Item number 21, discussion and action to clarify Resolution 591 for Mayor Elia Garcia and City Representative Ralph Duran are prohibited from having direct communication with any city employees other than the city manager for any purpose whatsoever.
Sure. Mayor and Council, the council adopted this resolution recently. Excuse me. There was a situation recently where Mr. Gudan asked both the city manager and myself, excuse me, if he was permitted to contact police to report a theft at his business. And our answer was, well, if you were the victim of crime, yes, you should contact police. But it brought to light the text of the ordinance, which literally would prohibit that. And so our recommendation would be direct staff to redraft the ordinance so that there's an exception for communications with city employees that would, routine seeking of city services as would any other citizen would be able to make.
Mr. Perez?
Could we define the roles? I think that's what we're looking at. Define the roles as an elected official versus a private citizen. Anything that will threaten life, limb, and property would fall under, I think, as far as a citizen of Socorro versus the public role of an elected official.
The answer to your question is yes. That's certainly one way to do it. I can think of,
That's just a suggestion.
right, there's other, as a matter of draftsmanship, there's other ways to approach it. But it occurs to me, and I discussed it with the city manager, yes, there ought to be, I understood what council was trying to do, and I think part of what you're saying touches on it. don't communicate with city employees in your capacity as an elected official. If you wanna communicate with them because, you know, you found a body in a field, yeah, you should be able to do that, that's okay. And if, my point is, if council will give us the broad direction to fix it or revise it to permit that, we'll do the draftsmanship work and come up with something to bring back for your approval.
Okay.
Ms. Villalobos?
For example, just last weekend, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I was. I came here with a constituent, but also as their realtor at planning and zoning for planning and zoning information. I don't think I was stepping my boundaries by asking information with my clients. Does that make sense? It was in my capacity as a realtor, so I think what they're saying here is, what they're saying here is don't talk to them about what you're doing outside of, you know, your life outside. Don't communicate information having to do with your event that you're running for, that kind of stuff.
Mr. Perez?
I think that that's something that we can draft in general for
All of us,
the council. I mean,
for all of us.
Well,
Period.
there's already a policy
Yes.
that exists.
right, but I think it, to further define that in terms of the public role versus a private role, and again, to Ms. Colombia Lobo's point, anything having to do with our profession, our private profession, and anything that pertains to safety, personal safety. I think that's a valid, those are valid separations, I think.
Ms. Villalobos?
I think, because Mayor is an attorney, hers is a little different because she is an attorney. And she might have to come to this court, and might have to ask to change the venue or change where she will represent her client. I think in that, it would be a little different for her. Because of her profession?
When she can't represent someone against our city, she's fine.
Okay.
Like if she were to sue, she would be serving herself.
I see. Well, see, for her, it's a little different. How do we, Mr. Martinez, how do we approach this?
I don't think you need to make the rules any different for the mayor just because she's a lawyer.
I'm not saying because she's a lawyer, it could have been me, I could have been the lawyer and suing the city. You know, in other words, she cannot pick up a client and defend them against the city of Socorro.
Well, that's beyond the scope of the proposed resolution. We're talking about communications.
Okay.
There's an entire body of law that controls conflicts of interest and when a lawyer can or can't be adverse to a particular party. That's controlled by state law.
Okay,
And I think that's in any profession.
I see.
There's conflict of interest that exists.
So, Madam Mayor?
Mr. Perez?
So then can we go, would it be feasible to direct staff to develop proposed modifications to this ordinance with the definition of roles as a elected official versus a private citizen?
Yes, you could. My recommendation is don't make it that specific.
Okay.
Direct staff to draft something that provides for the kind of exception we've discussed and let us try to figure out the best way to do that technically. And we'll bring it back to you, and if it's not the one you want, then you can say no. Or you can modify it once you can.
Okay.
Okay.
So then I'll go ahead and make a motion to direct staff to provide a proposed clarification on Resolution 591
Second.
and present it to council.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran?
Abstain.
Victor Perez?
Aye.
And Yvonne Colombia Lopez?
Aye.
Item number 22, discussion and action to approve a support letter for the El Paso County's commuter transit service to apply for a TxDOT coordinated all-rural discretionary grant for construction of passenger shelters.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Rodriguez?
This is for the county, since we're a few months back, we came, the county came to us and asked us for the routes that we wanted to propose. This, what it is we're gonna go to the MPO and try to ask for funding so that we can accommodate the people that are waiting for the bus, so that they can have like a shelter and seats and all that. So this is what it is for, basically. And they just want a letter of support so that we can put it in there, put it in the STP, which is a 2-year, and then from there we can go on. Correct? Yes. Simple.
Correct, and they did meet the letter on February the 3rd, just because the deadline was coming up, and we're putting it on the agenda for formality.
Okay. Just a question. Why is Mr. Schwab out of Marfa, Texas?
The what?
In the backup?
So Mr. Schwab, he initially was the 5310 coordinator that was working with the El Paso County, that was being funded by the El Paso MPO.
Okay.
So when they went out there, he was the agent for the county and essentially the agent for the MPO.
Okay.
And so Mr. Schwab has led the effort ever since.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, sir.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Item number 23, discussion and action to approve District 2 Ralph Duran to attend the TAMCC Elected Officials Conference at the Embassy Suites in Frisco, Texas from Tuesday, March 4th through Friday, March 6th, 2020.
Motion to approve if we can also include any other council members that want to attend.
Second.
Mayor and Council, so Mr. Duran and I received a letter they want to recognize him as a municipal elected official participating in the Texas Municipal League Institute for Programs who earned the appropriate number of continuing education credits.
Oh,
So
nice.
he's gonna receive a certificate. Just note of caution is we do have a meeting that week, which is our first meeting of March. Just if other council members go, we might have to cancel our meeting.
Cancel council.
Cancel.
Well, it is my birthday that day, so I might not go. Depends on what they're giving me at home.
So I guess
I
we'll
might
play.
have court next month too, on March.
Perfect time to go.
So I'll let you guys know, because I am gonna take a leave of absence on March and in April.
I'm sorry, on these courses, just for this is because of all the courses we've taken there and.
That I've taken.
También.
You've taken too? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they.
The what?
Yeah, I need to let them know about my hours. I think I'm
Yeah, I
ahead
know.
of you.
Me too.
Yeah, I think I'm ahead of you with these hours, but I don't know for some reason.
Now.
Turn in your papers on time.
Yeah, okay. I think I did, but I don't know. All right.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Item number 24, discussion and action to direct staff to research and gather information regarding entering into an interlocal agreement with the town of Clint to assist with street paving.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Mayor and council members, Mike Lena, city planner. We were approached by the mayor by way of the city manager, and that communication came about is that we currently have a cooperative effort with the Lower Valley Water District in the capacity that whenever they go in there and they have to replace some type of infrastructure, we have agreed that we would provide them a quote, and the city would charge them for that service of resurfacing that area. So essentially is that the mayor had contacted the city manager, and her and I went out there and we took a look at the infrastructure, and it essentially is that, you know, we looked at it, and the research here would be to see how we could further the effort.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Remember that we were having an issue with the Lower Valley Water, is that they would come in, break our street, well, cut our street so that they can provide service for
Do
our residents.
installations, yeah.
Right, and then they were understaffed, and they're still continue to be understaffed. So that's why we did a joint partnership. They brought it to us, and that's what we did. Now I think the city, my question is that are we gonna strain our efforts if we do go and help, Clint? I'm
Correct. So before we came back and we started looking a little bit more, we wanted to come to council to see if that's was even something that we would want to do. And I think as Socorro is growing, other smaller municipalities are looking to us, just because we do our own paving, and before we used to have an interlocal agreement with the county, which the county would do that. Now smaller municipalities are looking to us to do that interlocal agreement. I think that we can research and see if it's doable, but I mean, as we all know, we're a little short-staffed. We kind of bounced ideas such as maybe working on the weekends and charging that overtime rate because their streets are very small. They're not huge. They're not huge streets, and not all of them would qualify depending on from what we saw.
No,
Right,
and
but
we
we
have
would
to be
come
good
back with
neighbors too.
One thing I also want to note is that I don't think their council has voted to see if this is a route we wanted to go. So because they wanted us to go into their council and present, and I did not feel comfortable without us coming to you all and seeing if that's even something that you all want to consider.
Because I agree with Mr. Rodriguez, I wouldn't want the manpower to be spread thin, and we can't handle our own issues. And I think that if you all do a presentation to the Clinton City Council, you would include those kinds of things like working on the weekend and those.
Correct, and we
Yeah,
also
so
need to
get the
see
job
what
done.
budget they have. They might only have a budget to do one street in 1 year or 2 streets. We don't know what their budget looks like in order for us to even see what magnitude or what impact it would have on us.
Right, part of
So
the,
we would
the-
need more information from them.
Right, I think part of the disclosure that we found at the very end is that they do have a study that was done by an engineer that essentially, in my opinion, is the development of a capital improvement program. But one of the things that we noted, that we would certainly disclaim is that any work, should the council direct us to go in that direction, we wouldn't be responsible for any stormwater elements of it. So the contract essentially would be an agreement for us to do any type of paving, resurfacing, milling, et cetera.
I think we do have a representative from Clint, Patricia Franco. Is she here?
She left.
No.
She's no longer here.
Okay.
Ms. Villalobos?
So I was at the last meeting with the Lower Valley Water District. Socorro was there, representatives from Socorro, Clint, and other entities. I don't think Horizon was there.
No, ma'am.
No, okay. And so there is a great need, and the Lower Valley Water District does recognize that they're, short-staffed. And we live in a very unique area because a lot of our manpower has left us to go to the oil fields. And I tell you this as a realtor, even our builders are having a hard time finding manpower because they're leaving. So I would suggest that if we need to revisit this, maybe try it as a pilot program and see what happens after, everything has been ironed out and the Clinton Council has made their recommendations and come back to our council for approval. And we do need to be neighborly. We need to look at that and I wanted to say that because I know that that's what's happening. It's not that there's not a paving company that they can't hire. It's the manpower that's not here.
So
Did you already make the motion, Mr. Perez?
there's a motion on the table,
Yes.
right?
Mr. Perez made a motion.
And then I seconded. Mayor, just
Mr.
to,
Rodriguez?
just to say this, we've needed a lot of help since 2013 when I was here. We needed a lot of help. County was there for us. They helped us. They showed us the way. I think that because we are the second biggest municipality in El Paso County, we should extend what was offered to us. I believe that we do have to be good neighbors. They're smaller municipalities. I know their budgets aren't that big. I don't think it's gonna hurt us if our manpower is used and we're gonna charge them. So it won't be a really cost to us. And at the same time, you know, we will help our neighbors. So it's something that, you know, I do believe that we should help, as long as it doesn't deter from our projects. And I'm pretty sure that staff will do a great job to schedule them in and stuff if we do move forward.
Brendan Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent, Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Iván Palo Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 25, discussion and action regarding elected official communicating directly with city employees.
Make that motion to delete.
Second.
Brendan Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent, Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Iván Palo Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 26, discussion and action on status on Mayor Elia Garcia for $100 fine.
Make that motion to postpone.
Second.
Brendan Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent, Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Iván Palo Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 27, discussion and action to direct staff to prepare a resolution or ordinance to establish a filing fee to submit an application to appear on the ballot as a candidate for a position on Socorro City Council.
Make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I make a motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, second. I'm sorry, I thought it was approve, vote, and.
No.
Mr. Perez?
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
No, I know. That's, I asked for discussion.
Because if you're requiring people to pay to run, I don't see the benefit of that. I think that it becomes a disincentive for those that, and we always talk about young people running and those kinds of things, and I think that becomes a disincentive for them. And I don't know what fee structure you had in mind, I'm not sure. But I think that the idea of paying to run, it's something that I don't know if I would agree with that. I know I wouldn't.
Mr. Duran?
I agree with you 100%. I think that this is public service that we're doing, and we shouldn't have to pay to serve our public. And it also leaves open the door for unscrupulous people to pay for somebody else to run just to put their name on a ballot. I have to agree 100% with Mr. Nevada, Mr. Perez. I'm looking at the wrong name, okay? with Victor.
That's okay.
He had
That's
a
fine.
senior moment.
That's fine.
I had one this week. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
anyway,
He admitted
anyway.
having one last week, so there.
That's
I
right.
did? I can't remember.
So I don't see it.
Mr. Rodriguez?
No. I just brought it up because the county charges $1,500 or $1,200, right? How much is it?
Depends on the position, and also the county elections are partisan, and our City of Socorro Council is nonpartisan. So that's the
Partisan?
difference. We're nonpartisan. You don't have to announce if you're Democrat or Republican to run.
Oh, we're not?
No.
We're all county elections.
Oh, okay.
county seats
No,
are-
I was just saying because, El Paso, there's a filing fee too. I was just talking about because we're talking about crunching money and stuff, and we're talking about that, it costs a lot of money. So when we go to elections, I was just gonna say, if we do, and if we wanted to, I'm not gonna say we're gonna charge $1,500. I'm saying like $100 or whatever, just for the administration,
I guess.
But that's, I just brought it up.
I don't know. That's.
I'm not saying that I'm just saying,
Right.
what if we start for a filing fee, just like,
Because in my mind, you're looking at what's the difference between fighting to run and paying to vote. It's one of those topics that I know that they might have filing fees or whatever, but I associate it that way.
okay, no, it's just fine.
Ms. Villalobos?
And I agree with both of you in one, because of the administrative
Right.
cost to get this election together. And it would have been nice to have to collect, you know, a little bit of money for all that staff that is spent, all that time that is spent by our staff. I saw it in that point of view, not any other point of view. And I also saw it as people that are serious. People that are serious don't mind paying the $200, you know. But I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from, both of you. Okay, I mean, I see it in that point of view. So we delete this item? I make a motion to delete the item?
Was there,
No, I made the motion to approve and then she seconded.
Yeah, I'll
You were
resent
second.
and make the motion to delete the item.
Yeah, it was just something just to say, hey, what do you guys think? You know, just to offset, you know, some of the administration fees. You know, it wasn't, you know, implied that we're going to
Right.
or anything like that. I was just saying, hey, what do you guys think? If not, we could just keep it the way it was, and that's it.
although, if I may, Madam Mayor,
Mr. Perez?
if we're talking about election fees or costs, I know that when people run, they get a packet of materials and stuff like that. Can't that be placed on the web and just say, you download it at your cost or whatever? Can we do that kind of thing? Instead of like whatever copies that we give, like you give out packets, right, for the election.
Oh, just like the copies when we come in and do-
Yeah, that you wanna run, you download the forms and you submit them.
Instead of us copying the
Uh-huh.
form?
As an administrative cost?
You could do that. There are other costs associated with filing.
Well, I understand that.
I mean, yeah, the clerk is gonna review it, the clerk, I don't know if they check the residence and see if it's in the right
Yes.
district. I mean, there is some
Other,
staff.
right, but at least in terms of reducing some.
Yes.
All right.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
To delete.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Cesar Nevares Sampson? Ralph Duran?
Just to delete, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Victor Perez?
Aye.
And Yvonne Solo Villalobos?
Yes.
Item number 28, discussion and action to allocate $65,000 per council member for sidewalk implementation outside the Safe Routes to School from 2019 COs.
Make a motion to approve?
For discussion? Second.
Mr. Duran?
I just do not like this for this. The reason is we have staff that knows where the most important places to put sidewalks are. We don't need to politicize it and have people walking around, I'm gonna put sidewalk in your area, you know, I need your vote. We don't need that. We need to keep this in-house with our planning and zoning department. They know where the sidewalks need to be. We don't need to be going around promising things, sidewalks and things like that. I disagree with this wholeheartedly.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Okay, I had a meeting with Dannenbaum and our staff about a week and a half ago. And our master plan, I got the copy of our master plan for sidewalks. One of the things is that is our grant writer here?
Sorry, sir?
Is our grant writer here?
No.
Okay. She notified us that we did not get the Safe Routes to School, correct?
There was an application submitted to TxDOT. We were not picked for it.
Right. So we were not gonna get Safe Routes to School. We didn't qualify. They're looking into different methodology now, so we're gonna have to change the way we apply for them. So I thought, okay, well, what we're gonna do is that the Safe Routes to School is only for a mile away from the schools. So the thing that I had talked to staff was that since we already have it, it already tells us, it breaks a breakdown of streets. We're not gonna go out there and say, hey, we're gonna put you this, no. What I'm trying to say is that each one of us gets 65,000, and we're gonna go and go to your district, and then you go with staff, you're gonna show you where you can do it, and do it that way. Because we are not gonna have any Safe Routes to School for the next 3 years, okay? And the reason why is because the application takes about 1.5 years to 2. And then once you receive it, you don't, by the time it starts to finish and you get the money, it's 3 years. So we're not gonna receive anything. And the next let won't be anytime soon. So what I thought is, well, we'll supplement it because we do have the COs, and that's what we got the COs for, okay? So it's not like, oh, you know, we're just gonna burn money just because we're gonna burn money. It's not about that. It's because we don't have any more safe routes to school. So there's a lot of people right now that use our North Loop or use our our Nuevo Waco tanks to go walk. Mr. Nevares is one of those that walks it. I'm one of those that walk North Loop. Why? Because it's paved. And what we need to do is that we need to start, if we don't do it, when are we going to do it? It's not about whether we're gonna politicize it or not. Because you know what? If you have that mentality, and if you believe that that's gonna happen, that it's on you. Some of us do have restraints. Some of us understand the need. And that's what I'm trying to say. We are not gonna see any safe routes. We're not gonna see any new sidewalks in the city for the next 3 years. All I was saying is, I brought it because I had the meeting with Denenbaum because we were, Mr. Nevares, you were here for that.
You're done, Mr. Evans.
No, I mean,
We're getting-
oh my God, again, you see?
Victor.
No, sorry,
I'm not the only
Mr.
one.
Perez,
We'll
sorry,
just
Mr.
chalk
Perez.
it up to another senior moment.
I'm sorry, Mr. Perez,
That's okay.
but you were here when we went out and got.
It
the-
does say Perez in the front, right? It does?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Forgive me. I was just, I know. It just stuck.
That's
It
okay.
just stuck. And, no, and that's the only thing. If you guys don't wanna do it, then don't. But I mean, I just feel bad because we're applying, we didn't get it, and we're not gonna have any more sidewalks that are really needed. If you really notice, there was a grant that we're applying for. Okay? How are our people gonna go to get the bus? Think about that. They're gonna go on mud? Puddles of water? Those are the issues that I'm saying. We need to start, you know, and I get it, and I understand Mr. Duran's point 100%. But all I'm saying is, we're gonna talk to staff.
Right. But,
We-
but the thing is that there's that old saying that says, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And unfortunately, we have past experiences, and I understand the intent. Of the entrances, what
Mm-hmm.
the
Oh, the driveways.
the
Yes,
driveways,
yes.
okay? So I like what you're saying, but we already have a model that worked with the street paving, allowing staff to prioritize which areas in every district that need the sidewalk, and we cycle it through that way. And that way there is that transparency, and there is no, there'll always be people that will complain, but we can explain what the process is. That way we have that transparency, and we don't have $65,000 here, $65,000 there. We can pull the money and then identify the different areas that need the sidewalks. I agree totally, but I think that if we use that model that we have already in place, I think that'll work. To me, that'll work better.
Which would be 300,000. And that's what I'm saying. If we all get 60, not us like in general, right? But we're saying, pull the money, because if we say, hey, each one's gonna get that, but we direct staff. That's what I'm saying, to start doing it.
But what I'm saying is, instead of us directing staff, how about staff proposing a list of?
With the amount, yes.
I think that's where we need to make sure that we state it that way.
Okay.
Versus us saying each district gets $65,000.
Right.
Because the perception is that we're going to prioritize within our own districts, and then you're going to have a situation where unfortunately, it does become politicized.
Okay.
I agree with
Mr.
Mr. Perez. I think that we need to allocate the funds because there is a big need for it, but we need to allow staff to create their list based on priority and do it across the entire city with the highest impact sidewalks first, and then
Without interfering in the radius of the safe
well,
routes.
we can allocate the funds for sidewalks outside of the safe routes to school in case we do qualify for safe routes to school in the future. We can apply for those grants again. Mr. Duran?
After
Mr. Perez?
No, no,
No, it was Mr. Duran.
Mr. Duran first.
Mr. Duran.
No, I agree with everybody. We need sidewalks. But there are districts, like Mr. Perez's district is the oldest one, and I think has the least amount of sidewalks. My district has got a lot of new housing in it. And we have, and when the builders come in, they put in sidewalks.
But I was going, and I was going to bring up that point that because I don't have, well, that my district doesn't have a lot of sidewalks, even if we wanted to to build sidewalks in some areas,
Yeah.
we'd be in their living room in terms
Yeah,
of the stuff, you know, being able to get that right away.
And we all know the less cooks there are in the kitchen, the better the meal is. So I think we just need to step back, give the staff the money they need to put in sidewalks, and let them know, they know better than we do where the need is. And let them come to us, say, hey, here's what we have. Give us the money to do it, and then we can do it that way. Let's not get into it.
Mr. Rodriguez?
So, if we do 65 per council members, 390,000, right? So what I propose is we just say 400,000. We say we give it to administration, and then administration gives us and goes out and implements the sidewalks. That's my whole point. Whether the way I worded or anything, that's not the
No,
point.
and I
The point
understand
is, we need to get it done. You know, I'm very upset that we didn't get chosen for the safe routes because we were a 95. I mean, it was excellent scoring, but the state chose to go another different way, and it's devastating for our community. You know, it really is. So I felt when I had that meeting, I said, okay, well, you know what? I was thinking and the dilemma, and we've always worded that way, you know. Now, I like it because we're gonna get it done. Whether it's through us or through them, it doesn't matter. We gotta get it done. And whether the way it was worded, that doesn't matter. Let's just start it. And we can just say, hey, if we sum it up, it's 390, but we could just say 400 just to say the 4 and let our administration just take over. So if I
Mr.
amend my motion to say that to direct staff with $400,000 to start the safe routes, because you know for our citywide,
Outside of the safe routes.
outside of safe routes to school, and then bring it to us and say, hey,
Well,
we're
before you, we have Ms. Rodarte that's been raising her hand for a while, and I wanted to go right behind her.
okay.
So we could, you know,
Okay.
before we.
And I just wanted to make a clarification that we didn't get the safe routes to school, however, we did qualify for the TESA
Yes, ma'am.
funding for Passmore, and that was
Oh, yeah.
Chair Pat, yeah, and we will continue applying for those type of
And
funds.
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Rodriguez?
no, you first, but I was gonna say.
Well, I was gonna bring up Passmore,
Oh,
but
okay.
thank you for.
Yeah,
bringing
because
that
remember
up.
I had
Yeah.
talked to you,
Yeah.
so can I go?
Well,
Ro-
and I was gonna say, I love the idea, I really do. How does this hurt us with anything that's coming our way in 2020 from the census? And when do we get these funds from the census?
Oh, the census takes,
So,
Mr. Reta should know, oh, hold on, real quick, but to add, because that's something different, and I don't think they're gonna let us go.
Well, no, I'm
What-
just saying,
what I'm-
what I'm trying to, just making sure that we don't use funds that we
No,
already
no,
have
no.
funds
We're not gonna
allocated
see 'em anytime
coming
soon.
in.
The
Okay,
state will not
gotcha.
allocate money real quick.
Gotcha.
Just to add to that, the safe routes to school, we did not get those, but they gave us Passmore. Hence, the safe routes to school with / walk paths, that's what they're headed. So not only is it just for pedestrians, but you gotta have a little bit more to it.
To walk.
To
Bike paths?
bike paths and all that. So those are the things that I was gonna bring next time. And I actually have the documentation in my truck, but I was gonna bring it up and talk further about why we didn't. But the thing is that we just need to start it. So that's my motion.
Well, no, and the census will happen this year, but we probably won't see those numbers till the beginning of next fiscal year, because it has to go through the federal government in order for them to give us, I mean, they do their own formula to come back with those numbers. Once
Mr.
they're
Perez?
registered, then we're able to apply for the funds.
Gotcha.
Just so that we're, so we can close this subject. So then, in terms of the way we used to have that model of identifying the streets to be paved, you would take in, we could provide also names of areas for you all to look at in, for consideration of
Yes.
sidewalks, right? Because that's how we did it the last time.
Mhm.
So it's not like we're devoid of any input. We can provide that input. Okay. All right.
And what was the motion?
Oh, to direct staff, to give them $400,000 for continuation of the Safe Routes to School.
Outside of city.
But outside of the premise of the,
And then our city planner will come and make a presentation to council,
Mhm.
giving you the streets, just like we do with the street
Prioritizing
leading, in
them.
order for you guys to adopt
Okay.
the areas that we're recommending.
All right.
Gotcha.
Do we have a second?
Second.
thank you guys.
Thank you. President Rodriguez?
Aye, this is gonna be great. I just wanna say, this is gonna be great because we need to.
Cesar Nevares is absent, 12 to 9.
Yes.
Victor Perez?
Aye.
And Iván Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 29, discussion and action to direct staff on proposing additional staff to the police department for the safety of our community.
Motion
Mayor?
to approve.
Ms.
Second.
Rodriguez?
I brought this up because our city is growing so at a fast rate, we can't catch up. District 4 is growing. I mean, District 4 is from I-10 all the way down to Socorro and the border. That's a big district as in lengthwise, and you have.
Actually, I'll just correct you. It's actually District 1 from Rancho Viejo all the way to the back. Is
Okay,
District
that's
4.
correct, that's correct.
But it
Yeah.
is a little wide and
But it
long
is
all the
growing,
way to the Rio
nevertheless,
Grande.
it is growing, the
Yeah.
subdivisions are growing, there's, I believe it's 340 homes. We got another one on North Loop, that's another 150, and then there's another one that's like 65, then we have another one that's 125, and then we have Old Waco Tanks. I mean, these are our future residents that are coming in, that if you multiply per home, if we just say you add by 2, I mean, that's over 1,000 new residents that the city is gonna have. And we're lacking in our police department to police our community and provide a better safety for them. So it is something that we need to address.
Mr. Perez?
So then we would ask staff to provide a number as to how many positions to, or is there already a proposal on the table?
Done his homework.
Yes, we have 2 speakers. Mr. Ortiz?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Albert Ortiz, and exactly what Mayor was saying, Mr. Rodriguez. The city is growing. I mean, and I'm sure eventually we're gonna acquire more land. There's gonna be more land acquired. I've seen spots where it would be great if Socorro would acquire it. Also, that means more population, that means more need for for police officers. And then the census is coming, it's gonna probably say there's more people, now you guys need to provide more public safety. Chief Burton has come in and done a real good job, he's really improving and he wants to improve police department even more. And also he has future plans, for public safety. So again, well, right now the way it is, if you have a police officer goes on vacation, gets sick or OJI on a job injury, now you're short on staffing. So that's, again, we need more police officers to cover those spots. And again, there's also, you gotta remember, a major incident, like what happened in the Walmart could happen here. God willing, it never does, but what's gonna happen then? We're gonna need more police officers. I can tell you from my years at the fire department, 911, incidents where, yes, ED with El Paso, mind you, that has so much police officers, one of our incidents, I'll say real quick, our unit got on the scene, our ambulance and the fire department, there was no police officers, there were shots fired. Is it, what's it, in front of Isleta, the McDonald's there in front of Isleta? The paramedic Guerrero was screaming on the radio, dispatch, we need
Mr.
PD.
Ortiz, your time
There
is
were
up.
shots still being fired. Real quick. So what happened with El Paso with so many police officers and they still couldn't get on the scene? Yes, we need more police officers with us to prevent, any incidents.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jaciel Muñoz.
Good evening, council. Good evening, mayors. This is the first time I actually stand up here and speak to you all about the expansion of our police department. As you well know, I've been here in the city, 9.5 years, and in the 9.5 years that I have been here, I've seen from the lowest points to the highest points, which are right now. We are expanding, we are growing, we are becoming much professional police officers. But the hardest thing as a police officer that we do is look somebody in the eye and knock on that door and tell them that their son has died because there was a shooting. I've had the experiences here where I've actually given birth to a baby, and I've actually seen like that 15-year-old that died last week. I witnessed myself that 15-year-old take his last breath. If you all may agree with me, we all have a common goal here, is to protect the city, but also we are very short-handed, and I wouldn't be standing here trying for you guys to work with us so you guys can make that happen. I know it's a hard thing to do. I know there's a lot of logistical, a lot of finance involved, but we owe it to all the citizens here. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Burton, Chief of Police. So on my initial meeting with the city manager, when I first got here, and I've been here 11 months now, I can't believe it's almost going to be a year. But, one of the things we put together was, okay, ma'am, here is a 5-year plan for the expansion of police. And the reason why I did that is because across the country, the national average for police officers per 1,000 citizens is 2.4. With our present population, that means then today we should have 79 officers working on the road. The fact of the case is we have 36 plus 1 grant funded position that expires come this September. If the census were to come out with a 40,000 population and you extrapolate those numbers out, then we should have 96 officers working on the road. And the reason why they set those limits is because of effective policing. We are presently a reactionary police department. We chase down calls. Our call service and volume has gone up every year. We are now topping the 27,000 mark. That's how many calls for service that the police department is answering per year. That's an increase of 400 from last year. Recently, you are aware and you've seen it in the community where we had a spike of violent crime. Now, the men and women are out there making those arrests. They're out there talking to people. They're out there conducting those investigations. And we've made 13 arrests based on that violence that took place. And it actually goes all the way back to October, which is when we first started looking at it. And since we concluded those arrests, and we still have some that are outstanding because, quite frankly, they've run away from us, but we have outstanding warrants for them, that violence has ended. But there's only a finite amount of police officers on the street that can do what they need to do. We cannot do district policing, which is a crime prevention technique. We do not have a youth officer to connect with the youth on a regular basis. We don't have an intelligence officer that can provide us with information as to what some of our organized crime and or gang activity is within the city. Those are specializations that we're missing. So I have updated my plan based on the activity that I've seen over the last few months here, and now my proposal is that we hire 6 officers a year for the next 3 years. That will give us a total strength of 55 officers, which is what I propose that we go up to. And I have also added some specialist officers in there that I think we are missing, such as the two that I've aforementioned. In addition to that, a gang specialist, as well as another traffic officer, because traffic is the bane of every police department. Those are the daily complaints, and that is a quality of life issue that we get. And we cannot effectively, presently, run enough traffic enforcement to reduce our motor vehicle accident rate, which is where we're sitting at. As you've heard from Alejandra, our grant coordinator, we are very active as far as grant applications are concerned. But there's only so much money, there's only so much you can do with the money. You need the manpower to back that up, that can actually go out and work those assignments. So I would ask you to consider that you look at this, and the city manager has the plan right now, and she can certainly provide that to you if necessary.
Mr. Perez?
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, I'll be the first one to say that you've done a really good job in aligning our police forces, and I appreciate that. Secondly, and thank you. Secondly, my question is, for those specializations that you spoke of, would they also do patrol duty? I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
Not with the present activity that we have. I would like to reduce the number of calls for service that we have based in certain areas, especially anything to do with violence, aggravated assault, gun crimes, etc. So because we have specific groups that are operating, we know that some of our spike, for example, over the last few months came from a group of young adults. That's why I think the youth officers should be out there working full time. So no, they're not going to be working patrol, they're going to be working youth.
Okay.
Same thing with the gang task force, same thing with the intelligence officer.
And that's a clarification. Thank you.
Correct. If we go to the 55 officers, so right now we have a minimum staffing, which was never done in the city before, which I implemented when I got here, but it's not enough officers on the street for minimum. We don't have a north and south of the tracks, so that when train divides our services, we can't get there because we physically don't have an officer on that side. So I propose that we go to a 4-district type patrol, where we have 2 officers working on the north side of the tracks, we have 2 officers working on the south side of the tracks. You know that we already have a supervisor working because that's what I put in initially when I came to you and asked us for the corporals. They gave me the span of control. And then we would add to those specialists as well would be available to assist, as well as some of the other equipment that we're looking for, such as a specialized canine unit. We don't have a tracking capability. We don't have an evidence recovery capability with the present dog, so I would look to upgrade those services as well.
Mr. Duran?
I've been associated with the city for about 10 years now. I've seen our police department at its lowest point, and Officer Ray can attest to that because I worked with him a lot. We actually had a council when we were given a dog that wouldn't approve money for feed for him. I went to my friend who owns Valley Feed, and I got him to donate free dog food for that dog for life. We've been trying, every year we know that we need more officers, but there's never the money. Well, we need to find that money. We need to tighten our belts. We need to look where there's waste in our city, stop that waste, because our citizens deserve it. We've been talking to a lot of people, and the number one complaint they have, not enough police presence. They say, I haven't seen a police cruiser through my neighborhood in weeks or months. That's not acceptable to our people. And the only way we're going to do that is if we increase our police, which hasn't been done, and I don't remember the last time we added any police officers through the city. It's always been through grants. So 5, 6 officers a year, I don't think is unreasonable. We just need to tighten our belts, wear it up, use it out, or do without, but not without our police protection. They're the ones that make our city safe. They make people want to live in Socorro because it'll be a safe city. And the more people we have, the bigger our tax base grows, the more people that are spending money in Socorro, and our sales tax goes. Everything depends on a safe city. And the plans that you are providing us are going to give us that safe city.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Villalobos?
So I completely agree. The the police force should be growing. I think 6 is very little, especially because you need specialized police officers to do the specialty work that needs to be done. Do we have funds for not just 6, but maybe fill up the specialty and then add a couple of more officers?
So what I try to do is fiscal responsibility, because you have these developments coming in now, but there's nobody living in them to pay the taxes that would assist us in putting personnel on the street. So that's why I extrapolated it out over 3 years, because that's what I would expect. 6 off the bat will give me one more officer on the road per shift, plus 2 of the specialist officers that I'm looking for. We are going out for COPS grants, which is the community policing grants. And we have put in for 6 officers on our COPS grant. That doesn't mean that we're gonna get, like you were saying, Mr. Rodriguez, as far as the sidewalks. It doesn't mean we're gonna get that funding, but that's what we are looking at per year. We're putting it. Now, the good news is we're so far below what the national standard for manpower is. We stand and our call volume, we stand a good chance of getting it, but there's no guarantees on that. I just want to be fiscally responsible, because you're looking at a lot. Police officers are not cheap. Currently, I believe a police officer with their equipment, salary, benefits, car is going to cost you about $91,000 a piece. They're not cheap. And we're not a profit-making agency either. We can certainly change some of the ways we do business as far as security events, specialized events, carnivals, any kind of public venue where you need security. We can start looking at recouping some of those fees where we have to cover that, and right now the city is picking up that cost, and it's coming out of the city's budget. We can certainly turn around and look at that. Where I came from, for example, we were charging for use of a police car. What we did was we took the funds that we got on an hourly rate from the police car and we put them into a fleet program, so that it didn't buy all the cars, but it helped us purchase a few of them. So, ma'am, I would love the 18 officers right now, but that's a lot of money.
No, and I because I see our police officers out there, and when there's a stop, usually there's 2 of you.
And that's it.
For
That's
protection.
all you're getting now.
Right?
Correct.
And so, when there's a car accident, usually there's 2 of you out there, plus the fire department, you know. And so if you're on the south side or on the north side or whatever side, and these are your 2 manpower, that's all you have
That's
for
correct.
the whole city.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would love for you to come back in case we all find a way of being able to hire more a lot faster than what your plan is suggesting that we do, and come back and say, you know what, I think I found a way and we need to hire, et cetera, et cetera. That would be, I think, acceptable.
Mr. Perez?
I think there is no magic pill. It has to be with the planning process, the budgeting process, making sure that we allocate. Grants are few and far between in terms of funding, and even when you get a grant, it's not guaranteed that it's going to continue. So we need to be very proactive in terms of the budgeting, which means that we're going to have to cut out some things from city operations, or something's got to give. I mean, you can't fund everything.
Yeah, we'll cut off parks.
And so then I think that, I don't know if we can come back, if staff can rearrange the budget so that we can go ahead and start looking at those things.
I can come back.
Mr. Duran?
Before Chief Burton came here, there was times in our city when we had no police officers cruising. If you can believe that, within the last 4 years. Officers that were assigned to be cruising or be on duty, they were either downtown with a DWI or sick, and there were several occasions where we had nobody protecting the city of Socorro. And I know that's not happening now, because of the way that Chief Burton is rearranged our police department. We always have somebody in our town, and that hiring him was the best thing we ever did, because now we have somebody with new ideas who's come in here, and I never want to hear from a police officer there was nobody in town last night. And I haven't heard that in the last year. And I just want to thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So then,
The motion is
Yeah, motion to approve.
to approve.
And then we'll- Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran.
Yes.
Victor Perez.
and that includes looking at the budget too.
Correct, I'll
Okay.
bring you something next.
Okay. Aye.
Any Blanco Montiel.
Yes.
Item number 30, discussion and action to direct staff on creating an ordinance that will require a background check for any person who purchases a firearm at a gun show held in the city of Socorro.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Rodriguez?
You know, I wanted to bring this item long time ago. Ever since the incident in El Paso in August, I think it was 2 days or 3 days after, where I called Mr. Martinez and I said, hey, can we do this? Mr. Martinez said yes. And it took so long because a few days after that, my brother was murdered. I was in a meeting with Adriana, our city manager, and our chief Burton. I got a call right in front of their face, and I left. I told them what happened, and I had to leave. You know, so that's why this item took me a while to bring back. Emotionally, I'm still hurting because it's something. It's a big travesty that happened personally. I can imagine what happened to all of their family members when you know there's a child that both parents are gone. You know, and I understand. If you heard prior, I said I won't be here in March and February because their court is going to start. So that's why I probably might miss some, and I need to be excused for those meetings. But this is something that we have to help our neighbors. You know, if the county hasn't done anything or El Paso hasn't done anything like this, at least we can say something. Hey, we're gonna expand it. I know that we don't have any shows, but just in case, you never know. A show might come in here and stuff, and they don't do background checks. I think that this is a step for us to show that, you know, it's easy to say, oh, we stand strong with El Paso, you know, but let's do something about it. Let's really say, you know what, because we don't know if the gun show sold a gun that might have killed my brother or might have killed these people. You know, those are things that we can address. And I think that Socorro should be at the forefront and say, hey, you know, this is what we're gonna do. I just wanted to say that I wanted to do this long time ago. But August 20th is when I received the call, and I felt what those people in El Paso felt. So I think that we should do this to better save our community and what's going on in our community as well.
Ms. Villalobos?
Thank you for bringing that up. You and I are in the same boat, as you know. I too will be attending court hearings for my family member that was murdered with a gun. And of course the gun was purchased without any background check. So I wholeheartedly believe that we should. However, there's no however. I believe, so staff will come back and recommend, and there'll be fees associated with this background check, et cetera. Yes?
I mean, we would have to research it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
they'll-
this would be great for our police force to be able to utilize those funds if possible.
I think you're gonna bring up the same thing.
I sent an email to council today about this item. Mr. Rodriguez, let me quibble about one thing. I don't think I said yes, we can. I said, I don't know of any prohibition on it. Let me look, let me see if I can find one. And I sent what I found to city council today. If you want to discuss it further, I suggest you go into executive session.
I'll send you something that our state representative Joe Moody sent me, because we are able to. There's different counties that have done it. Multiple cities have done it as well. So there's no repercussions.
Mr.
But
Dunn?
I'll forward that to you tomorrow.
Everybody knows that the gun shows are just sidestepping the registration laws that you have to, go through a background check. I think if anything we do to, I don't even know if, how we can, I think this will deter people from wanting to have a gun show in Socorro because they know they can't sidestep that process. Now, if we can do it or not, that's, I think we need to let our legal handle that.
Well, let me ask, did anybody not get the email I sent?
No.
I'm sorry, I did get it, and unfortunately, when you sent it, it was around 3, I wanna say, more or less. And, unfortunately, I was not able to read it before I came to this meeting. Had it been like the day before, a few days before, maybe, but because it was sent kinda late, I did not get
But-
the opportunity to read it.
But
Mr. Perez?
Either way, if Mr. Rodriguez has some documentation about that, we can hear it in the presentation. Because I think that also, not so much the gun shows as well, but our pawn shops that sell guns, I think that that's also something that.
And we can have it
They
in
do
the ordinance.
background checks.
Meanwhile, like,
I'm not sure.
Pawn shops, they do a
Are
background
they
check.
required?
yeah.
Okay, then that's my lack of information. Okay.
Mayor, can I offer one thing? I mean, we'll draft what you instruct us to draft, but I think the ordinance I've sent you is directly on point. And before you have your staff spend resources preparing those things, I would again suggest you discuss that in executive session to consult with your lawyers.
okay.
Second,
Do we have,
I'll make a motion to go into executive to discuss this.
oh, he said
Second.
okay, so I said second.
René Rodríguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares is absent, Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Pérez,
Aye.
and Iván Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
8:32, we're now in executive session.
Again. And Mr. Duarte,